Hello and welcome to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. Today we have Netflix 389th film from 2021. It's the apocalyptic science fiction thriller film called Awake. It's directed by Mark Raso and stars Gina Rodriguez, Jason Leigh, Barry Pepper, Finn Jones, Shamier Anderson, Ariana Greenblatt, Francis Fisher, Elias Edraki, Lucius Hoyos, and Bellows. I'm Jesse, I am your host. As always, thank you for joining me for this Netflix original film. I guess I've got to put it out there, there's going to be spoilers for this film, so if you haven't seen Awake and you're interested in checking it out, give us a pause because I'm going to absolutely ruin this film as we go throughout. I do apologise, I am a little bit under the weather, so that's why my voice may sound a little bit off today, but hopefully you can stick it through. I'm going to give it a crack and hopefully give you a good little summary of what this film is all about. So we do start off this show with the Fast Flicks, where we do a quick little summary of what the film is all about. So this one's about some kind of attack that happens where humanity or people lose the ability to sleep. So they get a little bit grouchy and kill other people. That's horrible. I apologize. I didn't know how to explain this one, really. This is a very interesting film that I'm really excited to get into. So let's talk about how this one ended up on Netflix. So this one, we go back to May of 2019, where it was announced that Gina Rodriguez had joined the cast of the film, with Mark Raso directing from a screenplay by himself and his brother Joseph, with Netflix distributing. We go to August of 2019, where the rest of the cast joined. That's literally all I could find out. Principal photography ran from the 10th of August 2019 and wrapped on the 1st of October 2019. And on release, it did reach number 1 worldwide on Netflix. So I guess there you go. It had enough people checking it out in the first week. This did have a tagline. It was 4 little statements, I guess, followed by a full stop. So we had disorientation, hallucinations, hysteria, sleep is survival. So yes, the idea, the title of this one, Awake, ties into sleep and needing sleep to survive, I guess. So what are the translations around the world? What are some other countries calling this title? In Spanish, it's called Dysomnia. So yes, that makes sense. In French, it's called A Leaden Awakening. Ooh, in Czech and Greek, it's called Awakening. In Estonian, it's called Wakefulness. In Hungarian, it's called Being Awake. Polish, When Sleep Doesn't Come. Not bad. Romanian, it's called The Nightmare of Reality. Whew. In Russian, Turkish, it's called Sleepless. In Serbian, it's called Wake Up. In Chinese, it's called Sleepless Nightmare. Ukrainian, it's called Stay Awake. And in Arabic, it's called Vigilance. Very interesting. All right. So this film, it deals with sleep. It deals with being awake. It deals with this big catastrophe that means humanity can't sleep anymore and people go crazy. And that's the film. This did hit Netflix on the 9th of June 2021. It was filmed in Toronto in Canada, and it was nominated at the Canadian Society of Cinematographers Award for Best Cinematography in a Non-Theatrical Feature. So there you go, a little bit of recognition for this film. Let's get into the crux of it. What are the critics and audiences saying about this film? On Rotten Tomatoes, this sits at 22%. That is definitely rotten, and that is on 49 reviews, so a fair few reviews from critics. The audience had more than 500 ratings, sits at 26%, so not much higher at all. This is on that very low end. On IMDb, it sits at a 4.9 out of 10, again, very low. That's on 28,000 ratings. Letterboxd, it's been logged by nearly 42,000 people, or rated, it's been logged by 56,000 people. This sits at a 2.1 out of 5, which is definitely on the low end for Letterboxd. And Metacritic on that traffic light system of red, yellow, and green. Green meaning good, yellow meaning mediocre, red meaning bad, stop, don't go near it. This sits red for the critics. It's a 35 out of 100 on 13 critic reviews, and also red from the audience on a 3.4 out of 10 on 40 reviews. So overall, we've got to say that this film does not look like it's hit very well with the audiences. What about me? What did I think? Did I enjoy this film? Did I actually disagree with what everyone is saying? And I've got to start off, I think this has a really good premise, but it just continually drops in quality throughout this film. The reasoning and any belief in what could have been just disappears. I'm going to struggle to stay with this one, and I'm going to struggle with this episode because I did struggle with this film. So I'm sorry, this is going to be a bit of a whack as we go. So we start off with the characters, and it's very hard to talk about the characters in this one because they don't actually really develop or grow realistically. I mean, Jill, our main protagonist, the mother in this film, possibly grows the most. She's this troubled ex-military single mother who actually doesn't have custody of her children. They stay with her mother-in-law. She works night shift as a security guard. She sells pills on the side to make extra cash, and I guess her growth in this film is realizing and recognizing that she has 2 children in the world that actually need her, and that's probably the one character that I can say grows a little bit. Her 2 kids, the first one's Matilda. She's the young little girl in this film. She seems to be one of the only people in this world that can sleep after this solar attack or whatever it is, and that's why she's very valuable to lots of people in this film. Her brother Noah, or Jill's other child, or her son, he's just this stereotypical emo teenager who has no respect for his mum. He's got some girlfriend or something, and he doesn't care about anything. That's literally him to the T. The only other characters I'll talk about, we've got Dr. Murphy. Dr. Murphy's Jill's past colleague, so she's looked out for her during her drug addiction times by the sounds of it, and has given her this job. She worked with her when she was a soldier, so apparently she specialised in sleep deprivation as a soldier for torture tactics, and this makes her an expert in the field apparently. So fits in really nicely with this film that's all about the inability to sleep. And the other character, Dodge, I'll mention, he's this guy. He just rocks up randomly, sort of helps for a bit, has a few one-liners, some dialogue, and this one, I guess, that's meant to be impactful moment of dialogue where he talks about his grandmother and how she spoke about, you know, this idea of generational change which will allow problems to disappear, and that's about his contribution to this film. I'm really going to struggle. All right, the director, Mark Raso, 10 directing credits, 7 of those are shorts. Debut feature was called Copenhagen, which I haven't heard of, but the second one was Kodachrome, which I've heard of. I think I may have watched it. I vaguely ring a bell. So 2 films. This is the third. Can't say anything else after this, so maybe that's giving us a little bit of a hint. Let's continue on. Let's talk about some scenes. Let's talk about what worked in this film, what didn't work. The things that worked for me, there's a moment where Jill, so we're in this post-apocalyptic type world, everything's torn to shreds, people are rioting, people are looting, and Jill rocks up at this mechanic shop or this auto shop, and she's got this brick, there's this glass window, she's ready to break in, she goes to smash the window, and then she just turns the door handle and it opens. I thought that was quite funny. That made me laugh. And the other thing, I don't know if this is a good scene, but it did make me chuckle a little bit. This Dodge guy I mentioned before, he's goes on this little mini journey with the family, with Noah, Matilda, and Jill, and he's taking the car, he's dropped the family off, and he says, you know, it's time for me to get the F out of Dodge City, which obviously his name's Dodge, so that's meant to be funny. So I don't know, just had a bit of a chuckle, but this is the part where I'm going to get into it. The bits that didn't work in this film, because there are quite a few things that really frustrated me as this film went. The start of this film, the sort of climax, or not the climax, but the catalyst for this film is this solar eclipse or solar whatever it is that destroys electricity across Earth, and cars stop working, traffic lights don't work, and Jill's driving this car with her kids and they crash this car into the lake. It was such bad CGI of this crash and them trying to get out of the car, followed up by this ridiculous idea that Noah and Jill were struggling to get out of the car to the surface of the water, and Matilda, the youngest of them all, had managed to get to the shore and had already been resussed by the police officers or the cops that were there, and they said, yep, she was out for a minute or two. And these 2 adults that are double her size were just surfacing. I mean, stupid introduction. And obviously the power's out now, so Jill needs to set an alarm to go to work, and she just has this random, one of those old school analog clocks with an alarm in it lying around that she could use. Like, who has one of them lying around the house? I know she was staying at her mother-in-law's house, but just the convenience of having that clock. There's this church scene, so the mother-in-law, Noah, and Matilda's grandmother is big into the church, so there's this church scene where they work out Matilda's gifted. The grandmother takes Matilda there, and all of the parishioners at this church were just wild and crazy and losing their mind because they were tired. And there's this idea that they want Matilda. That's the only thing they need. They want to sacrifice her because she's special. And there's a moment where they just let her run upstairs and she's sitting up there crying by herself, and they just allow Jill to follow her upstairs to get her and just have this moment. It just felt, I don't know, I just couldn't deal with it. Noah the son is a little bit of a frustrating character, but there's this idea where at the end of this church scene, there's this character Brian. I didn't touch on him, but Brian's this guy that's trying to lead them to this hub where Matilda can be looked out so they can save humanity. And this Brian guy, he gets killed and Noah steals the directions off his body. And then he's outside with his mum, with Jill, and his sister Matilda, and he just pulls this lighter out of nowhere to burn these directions up. Like, where did he get this lighter from? The idea that, yes, I know he's a bit of a rebel, but I haven't seen him smoking up anywhere, so why has he got this lighter on him? That didn't make sense. The whole Matilda, then this follows on. Matilda asks Noah, her older brother, about his girlfriend, which we've got no mention of prior. Just like, you've got a girlfriend. He's like, yeah, I think her name's Emily, or something like that. And then she's like, did you guys do it? And it just felt so awkward, her asking her older brother this. And then the mum rocks up, and Matilda says to the mum, Jill, that, oh, Noah's never had sex. And then he's like, yes, I have. It was so lame, so awkward. They go on this adventure. The family, they've got this car. They're driving around. They're driving days on end. At night time, they see this burnt out car, and Jill just parks to go check out what's going on. Just leaves the kids in the car, gets out. Like, why? Nothing. So she could get a couple of guns. Didn't make sense. That as they're driving throughout the night one time, there's this bunch of naked nudists just in the middle of the road for no reason whatsoever, other than the idea that maybe there'd be some cattle in the middle of the road at some stage on this road adventure. That felt weird as well. Jill, Noah, Matilda, they rock up to this town to go to a library because they need to find some physical maps to work out where they're going. And Jill just starts crying and having this emotional moment where she's talking to Matilda, telling her, please don't stop reading when I'm gone. It was laughable. And then it transitions into this really weird moment where Jill is trying to teach Matilda how to use a gun. And Matilda's freaking out. And it's just like, what is going on here? And this is so Matilda storms out. She goes outside to sit in the car. Her mother and her older brother both just let her do this in this post-apocalyptic world where they're running from everyone. And then all of these inmates from the nearby prison break out. And we still have the mum, Jill, and Noah sitting in the library looking at maps, not worrying about her. Like, why would they leave her? It just did not make sense. And then these prisoners, they finally come out, and then Noah and Jill, quick, we better go save Matilda. And one of these prisoners is after Noah, like, weirdly, he's like, give us the boy, give us Noah, and calls him a pretty bitch. Please, come on. This, like, oh man, such poor dialogue at times. That Dodge guy I mentioned before, they sort of have this break where they need some more gas or some more oil for the car, and weirdly that Jill's teaching Matilda how to siphon it with her mouth, which is weird. But Noah and Dodge have this moment where he asks where their dad is, and Noah's like, well, he died in the war. And Dodge's response is, well, that's not bad. Laughable. There's this random, they're driving again, there's this random group of people that just attack the family in the car, and they're stabbing at them, and they just get away. Just no reason at all to have that scene. There's a moment where Jill, they get to the hub, and Jill's ready to go in by herself to check it out, and she's saying goodbye to the kids, and she says to Matilda, they're at this little hut or this little house, and she tells Matilda to stay in the house, and if anyone comes, just hide. And finishes it off with, especially men. Who wrote this? Jill goes, she gets into the hub, she goes through the hub, she works out what's going on, she goes outside to cry, and thunder just rolls in. It's like, oh no, danger is coming, wild. And then inside this lab, they're doing experiments on a monkey because obviously primates are the closest to humans, and there's this monkey brain hanging out. This doctor's working on this monkey, and Matilda's there to look at, and she's going to look at the monkey's face, and it just turns to this face of a monkey that looked like a Microsoft Word 1995 3D clip art image of a monkey. It was so bad. And finally, maybe just because I was so out of this movie, as you can probably tell, there's this Noah, he gets revived, he gets brought back to life, and it was just one of those moments where I was like, what on earth is going on? And then Matilda wheels this big stretcher out, and I just was completely lost. And it's probably because I was so out of this film that I just was not clicking on, because I had no idea. I just was too busy focusing on how bad moments in this film were. What's this film trying to say? What are some themes? What are some ideas? What are some motifs? Through the character of Jill, the idea of PTSD, from being in the military and that an inability to come back and live a normal life. That's obviously there. The idea, there's a lot of religious imagery throughout. The opening shot of this film is about water, where we see water and coming from water and humans being reborn through water almost, or rebaptized. So that plays throughout the film. Mothers, the protectiveness of mothers is here as well, and the idea that they will do whatever it takes to protect their children, that's very clear. And also clear, I guess, the idea of the youth and the hope of the future through this character of Matilda, the daughter, and also that idea too of not abusing the youth in this film, like the idea of sacrificing children or kids for the overall good. And I think it was the pastor in the church that said you have to be woke to understand the world. That idea of wokeness in the younger generation too. And there's a lot about science and religion and faith throughout this film, and the idea that doctors don't hurt people, I guess, is something that you can take away. But I struggled to put all of those together. What else did I take away from this film? I think that the cast probably realistically do a pretty good job. Not too bad with what they've been given in this film. They're believable as characters is probably how I'd put it, because other than that, this is a hard film to digest. Some questions, some pondering, some thoughts, some ideas. I think this is a big spoiler, but the final scene is that the kids, Noah and Matilda, realize that you need to die to be reborn almost. And the children drag their mother, Jill, a full-grown woman, to a lake and drown her on screen. This is something I probably didn't need to see. I don't really need to see kids killing their parents on screen. I get that that's the end of the film, but I don't know, it just didn't sit right. And also what happens if the entire world's cars and electricity stop working and no one can sleep? I guess that's the big picture question of this film. But I thought about this and I'm like, who actually cares? Like, what's the correlation between electricity and sleep, and how does this solar event that happens in the sky rewire humans' brains as well as wiping out the electricity grid? I don't know, that felt weird. And I couldn't get past the fact that almost from the start of the film anyway, it seemed like everyone couldn't sleep before this event anyway, that there were people on pills to sleep and people doing meditation and yoga to sleep. I don't know, just all blended together. It felt so weird. And that idea, like Matilda, like figuring out that she was able to sleep before the end of the film and why, I didn't care, so I didn't actually figure it out, and I don't feel dumb about it either. So because the twist it just didn't land for me anyway. So yes, I should have been, or I could have been, one of those audience members that sits and watches a film and is surprised with some kind of twist at the end of the film, and it just didn't land for me too. Especially because of some of the characters and moments in the film. There's this old lady in the lab who is believed to be the last person on Earth that can sleep apart from Matilda. But she's obviously died to be able to go to sleep, and then she dies again. So does that mean you can only die once? I don't know. There's no explanation. So there's lots of unanswered questions from this film. I'm ready to wrap this up. We give the films we do on this show a rating out of 5. So for me, I think there's so much bad dialogue in this film. There's lots of things that just don't make sense, and this premise that could have been so good that's let down with too many stupid answers or unanswered things. And I think I just have to say, don't bother with this. This is a 1.5 out of 5. Very low score for me. On the Flix Forum podcast, we are on socials. We have Facebook, we have X, formerly known as Twitter, as well as Instagram. Get on board, give us a follow, give us a like if you can. The question for this episode that I wanted to put on socials is the idea of the ending of this film. Is it hopeful that the children have worked out the cure, they revive their mum? Is this a hopeful ending? Because I really struggle. I don't think so. So what if Jill's alive? How are they going to get the rest of the world to kill themselves to be reborn? It's wild to think that is the ending of this film, because I feel like there's very little hope that they're going to be able to escape from where they are at the current stage, with everyone going crazy from lack of sleep anyway. So it just felt like a very wild ending. We are back next week. We do have a international film next week. This one's from Mexico, and it's actually a 2020 film. It's an adventure drama mystery called Tragic Jungle, or Selva Tragica in Spanish. It's directed by Yulen Olazalo and stars Indira Ruby Anduin, Gilberto Barraza, and Mariana Tunul. That's what we got next week. I'm excited. Hope you are too. Thanks for sticking around for this one. I hope I didn't bring you down too much if you have seen this film, but I can't recommend this one. So if you've stuck around, thank you, and I will see you next week.